if you would like either of these accommodations, please contact Mary Waldron at 508-583-1833, extension 202. The notice of non-discrimination rights and protections to beneficiaries with regard to the federal Title VI / non-discrimination protections and the state non-discrimination protections is posted in this meeting room. It is available on the Old Colony Planning website. Please contact Mary Waldron at 508-583-1833, and Mary can be reached at extension 202 for more information. And thank you all for joining us today. And I want to go to stay at item 1 and call to order. And Bill, you'll be doing the roll call for us today?
Yes, I will. All right. So I go down the list, and if you're present, just indicate so. Abington.
John Stone.
Bruce Hughes.
Thank you. Avon. Bridgewater. Brockton.
Brady Winston.
Thanks, Brady. East Bridgewater. Duxbury. Easton. Halifax. Hanson. Hanover. Kingston. Okay, Pembroke. Plymouth.
Wow.
Plimpton.
James is on the call.
Okay.
Here.
Hey, James.
Hi, thank you.
Stoughton. West Bridgewater. And I know Whitman's here.
Yeah.
And I'm here also.
Okay.
I did.
Brockton Area Transit. I saw Glenn come in. I don't know if is Mike here.
Yep, Glenn and I are both here.
Great. Thank you. Anyone from MassDOT District 5?
Hi, everybody. Barbara LaChancia.
Hey, Barbara, thank you.
Thank you.
And anyone from MassDOT Boston Office of Transportation Planning? Okay.
And Bill, if I may, just if the call-in number ending in 849, if that person could just identify themselves.
Nine, Avon's here.
Hey, Bill.
Bill.
Welcome.
Hey, folks.
I've allowed that unidentified number to speak, just waiting to see if they will be able to tune in.
Okay, just proceed.
Yeah.
All right. At this time, I'm going to move on to item number 2, which is public comments. Do we have any?
Madam
public-
Chair,
Yes.
if I may, Madam Chair.
Yes.
All right, just to let, in case anybody doesn't know, at the last Old Colony Planning Council meeting, I was voted in for another 2 years as on the MPO as signatory for towns with a greater population of 15,000. So I'm in for another 2 years.
Congratulations, Dan.
Thank you very much.
You're a great representative for all of us. Any other comments?
I
right,
just want to, if Maureen, if I could just recognize, we have Ward 5 City Councilor Jeff Thompson.
Okay, welcome.
Thank you all.
Thank you for joining us, Jeff. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Any other public comments? All righty, I'm going to move on to item 3, which is minutes of the January 6th, 2022 meeting. Have everybody had a chance to read and review them? Do I have a motion on the floor?
So moved by Whitman Dan.
Do I have a second to that motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 4 will be taken up by Sean.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. There are multiple items in the communications packet for this month. The first item is multifamily zoning requirement for MBTA communities. The Massachusetts Executive Office of Housing and Economic Development will be hosting a virtual webinar on February 10th at 2:30 p.m. to discuss the multifamily zoning requirement for MBTA communities. If you would like to join the webinar, please click on the link provided in this staff report. The next item is Route 24 over Canton Street Bridge Replacement Virtual Design Public Hearing. It'll be hosted by MassDOT and it will be held February 10th at 6 p.m. Attendees will have the opportunity to ask questions and offer comments during the meeting. They're proposing to replace the structures of 2 single-span bridges carrying Route 24 over Canton Street. For a direct link for the meeting, please click on the link in the staff report. Next item is a Route 138 Washington Street Corridor Improvements Project Virtual Design Public Hearing. It will be in the town of Stoughton, also hosted by MassDOT. It will be held February 16th at 6 p.m. For more information, please click on the provided link. Next item is Massachusetts Safe Routes to School Networking Call. It will be held on March 16th at 10 a.m. For more information or to register for this webinar, please click on the links in the staff report. Next item is the release of the 2022 Rebuilding American Infrastructure with Sustainability and Equity. It has been released. It is a grants program. It is part of the bipartisan infrastructure law. The application deadline is April 14th at 5 p.m. Eastern time. For more information, please click on the provided link. And if you have any questions, please email the email address provided. The next item is MassDOT Safe Speeds webpage with resources. MassDOT has launched a new Safe Speeds webpage that has resources and information on speed management in the Commonwealth. For more information on this resource, please click on the provided link. And that is my report.
Sean, could I go back to the first item, the multifamily dwelling summit webinar? I wanted to ask Bruce, if Bruce, is Abington moving forward on the multifamily in the MBTA district, since you're a community? Are they moving forward on any of the housing initiatives? Do you know,
Yes,
Bruce?
yes. Actually, right now where the commuter rail station is in Abington, that's a Todd district. But what we're talking about is it can be what, a mile, mile and a half?
Half a mile.
Half a mile, right?
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
that would be Abington Center. And, you know, the suggestion is that we would make Abington Center that district.
Well, actually,
Really?
what the regulation says is they want it to be a half a mile from the MBTA station itself.
We think the area that encompasses Abington Center, this is you know, up where the Santander Bank is and all that. We think that that's within about a half a mile of the train station. Anyway, that's what we're moving forward to.
So you would
Because-
take it from the MBTA station up Center Avenue?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay,
That's right, because right now in case you didn't know, there's a 40B proposed to go into the land where the train station is right now. And I
really?
see- Yeah. And you know something, if it wasn't 40B can go into a Todd district, unfortunately. It was originally supposed to be a regular housing development, but that got turned down. So the advocate went into it as a 40B. But, you know, an argument for adopting the MBTA multifamily use requirements is because it's allowed as of right. So you avoid the 40B. I know that was the situation that they ran into down in, Middleborough, around the train station. So they adopted the MBTA guidelines, and that way they were able to avoid a 40B down there. So that's the way that Abington is looking at pursuing right now, Nori.
So they're taking it from the MBTA station up to the bank, that area?
Yeah, up to the area around the bank.
Around the bank, Center Avenue. Okay,
Yeah, up to that part of Abington Center.
yeah. Okay, thanks, Bruce. Just
You're welcome.
wondering.
You're welcome.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
Mary Waldron has her hand up.
Mary?
Thanks, Matt, and thank you, Charlie, and thanks, Madam Chair. I just wanted to reinforce to everyone to join the February 10th webinar.
Yes.
This is going to be just for our 17 communities. There was a webinar held back in January. There was over 800 people attending. Very informative as well, but this is really going to be a much more intimate discussion with the secretary to,
Yes.
so I highly recommend everyone, including yourself, to come in and ask those questions at that time. So this was on the agenda for a communication to encourage the JTC members to join us on that day.
Right.
So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Mary.
Abington will be doing that.
Yeah. Thank you, Bruce.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. Okay, thank you very much, Sean. Any other comments or additions to communications? No, all right, I'm gonna move on to the reports, that, which would be Mike or Glenn.
Sure. Thank you very much, Chair. First, and as always, start with ridership and public health. Ridership continuing to hang around the sort of 58% of pre-pandemic numbers, sometimes edging up towards 60, which is great to see. And we're hoping that as we come out of this latest spike in cases, that we'll see ridership bounce back even greater. Currently, while we did over the past month, did set a record internally for number of positive tests. Just, like most of the community saw, the results were much milder, and our workforce is all healthy at the moment and back at work, which is great. And we didn't have any impacts on service over the course of the past month. The governor released his budget last week. That was very disappointing from a regional transit point of view. He cut base level funding to regional transit statewide, which we find very disheartening in light of some excellent reports that MassDOT has put out regarding congestion, regarding safety on our road network, and reports that other agencies have put out about the sort of impending climate crisis and its impact on our coastal communities, all three of which can be positively impacted by transit. So, I think his reasoning was that there's federal recovery money, but that federal recovery money, was specifically targeted to ensure that despite fare box loss, we can continue to provide high levels of service. It was not meant for states to pull back their commitment to transit. So we'll be working with the legislature and with our advocates and communities to try and reverse that cut over the course of the budget process. So you'll probably hear more from me on that as we go forward.
Thank you, Mike. Anyone have questions for Mike? Hearing none, I will move forward to item B, which is the Greater Attleboro Taunton Regional Transit Authority, GATRA, and that will be Sean.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Just a really quick update in terms of GATRA. The Transit Authority is reported being at status quo. Ridership is up a little bit, has seen a slight increase in recent months, and also that their micro transit, their flex service is reported as being successful.
Thank you. Any questions for Sean on GATRA? All right, moving forward to item C, which is the South Coast Rail Project. Sean?
Yes, thank you. Thank you again, Madam Chair. As everybody knows, South Coast Rail is going to restore commuter rail service to the south coast of Massachusetts, down to currently underserved cities such as Taunton, Fall River, and New Bedford. They're currently working on phase one, which is expected to be completed by next year. Over the past month, some of the work that was conducted was 24-hour bridge and track work at Turner Street and Fall River, fencing installation in 6 communities along the Fall River and Middleborough secondary lines, utilizing Cotley Street in Berkeley to access the railroad right-of-way for various project activities, as well as railroad work at Myrick Street in Berkeley for such work as drainage and grubbing and roadbed work. If anybody is interested in receiving project updates for South Coast Rail, please click on the provided link and you can sign up with your name and contact information to receive weekly project updates. And we have also a short 5.5-minute video from the MBTA's YouTube channel pertaining to South Coast Rail. So 1 second.
Sean, there's no sound.
Let me try this again. My apologies. Oh, okay. Okay, this should work now. I did not realize there was a separate button for sharing sound.
Hello, and welcome to the second in a series of video updates for the MBTA's South Coast Rail Project. I'm Jean Fox, Director of Community Engagement for the project. Our last update shared a general overview on our progress reconnecting southeastern Massachusetts to the greater Boston area. As you know, South Coast Rail Phase 1 will extend commuter rail service on the Middleborough Secondary Line to provide a one-seat ride between Boston and New Bedford, Fall River, and Taunton. This presentation looks back at a time when rail ruled transportation across the region in the form of the Old Colony Railroad. As the map shows, Old Colony service crisscrossed southeastern Massachusetts from 1845 to 1893. During that time, the most direct route from Boston to New York City involved a train ride to Fall River, followed by an overnight steamship voyage to Manhattan. 6 days a week for half a century. Hundreds of Bostonians would board the direct service train from Boston to Fall River, a connection that South Coast Rail is now restoring. The Pilgrim was the largest steamboat in the world when it was launched. After passengers rode the Fall River line from Boston for an hour and 40 minutes, they boarded the Pilgrim for an 8.5-hour voyage to New York City. This slide shows two of the night boats docked at Pier 14 in Manhattan. The Pilgrim was decorated in Italian Renaissance style and featured staterooms, a dining room, card room, and dance hall. It's amazing to see Pier 4 labeled Fall River Line in the Hudson River. So some classic stations. Elegance was typical of many of the railroad stations of these years. This New Bedford station opened in 1886. It was designed by Henry Paston Clark of Boston for the Old Colony Line and located nearly on the same footprint as the Phase 1 station. These Fall River stations also feature dramatic roof lines. The photo on the upper left side is the end of the Fall River line with the chimney stack of the steamer visible behind the station. The New York, New Haven, and Hartford Railroad leased and operated the Old Colony Line from 1893 to 1958. Financial problems put the railroad into bankruptcy, and it gave ownership back to Old Colony. The Old Colony went into bankruptcy itself in one day. The Commonwealth subsidized rail service for a short time as highway construction boomed. Passenger service on the Old Colony Line was abandoned in 1959. The Southeast Expressway opened in 1959, same year as the railroad was abandoned, and Route 24 also opened in phases as the railroad declined. Route 24 follows the historic train right-of-way and also parallels an old Native American trail that took the same north-south path. Over time, increasing congestion and pollution became issues on the Southeast Expressway, Route 24, and other highways. The first serious study to restore service to Southeastern Mass was published in January 1990. Governors Romney and Patrick took steps to move South Coast Rail forward, replacing aging railroad bridges and completing environmental and early design work. The Baker-Polito administration sealed the promise with a two-phase plan. Phase 1 is fully funded and construction is well underway, as you can see from the photo of the groundbreaking from July of 2019. So where are we now? We're on track, we're on time, we're on budget, and we're fully funded. The Fall River line is about 40% complete, and the New Bedford Middleborough Signals project is at 20%, and both are on schedule. We've laid thousands of linear feet of new track, and stations are rising, some where they once stood. New stations in Phase 1 include Middleborough, East Taunton, Freetown, Fall River Depot, Church Street, and New Bedford. Layover facilities will be in Fall River at Weaver's Cove and in New Bedford at Wamsutta. South Coast Rail anticipates reaching the midpoint of construction in the spring of this year. Revenue service is anticipated for late 2023. Trains will once again carry passengers to the South Coast, a region of great natural beauty with a seacoast, vibrant fishing industry, cranberry bogs, and a role in our Commonwealth's history and future. We can't wait. So please do follow us. Here are the various ways you can reach us with questions, concerns, issues. We invite you to take in the view of the Fall River Depot Station aerial view. That photo was taken in November of 2021. Thank you for your interest in the South Coast Rail project. We look forward to providing the community with more of these updates in the months to come.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Any comments and questions? And welcome, Mayor Sullivan. I just saw you. I didn't see you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for attending our meeting. We all appreciate it.
Thank you.
Noreen, Representative Michelle has her hand up.
Go ahead.
Thanks, Noreen. Thank you, Mary, very much. I think I know the answer to this, but I've had two different people call me in the last 3 weeks telling me about how the route of the line had changed and now it was going to go through Easton. Originally it was, and then it wasn't. And then I thought it was definitely not. And do you know, is it going to be going through Easton or no?
So maybe I'll, Rep. Dwyer, I'll take a chance at answering that question. So South Coast Rail, Sean, if you could scroll back up a couple of slides, does it have a thing where it talks about the two phases?
Yes.
So South Coast Rail has two distinct portions or phases. Phase 1 is what's being constructed now. That's essentially an extension of the Middleborough line to ultimately connect to Fall River and New Bedford. And it's going to traverse Middleborough, East Taunton, and down that way. So to your question about whether or not it's going to go through Easton, that would be determined in the design and permitting of what you see on your slide now, the full build scenario, which would be the along the Stoughton Easton alternative. That's yet to be determined if that's going to move forward to ultimate completion at this point. But right now, what's being constructed is phase 1, and service on that is expected to be implemented by the end of 2023.
Charlie, it's Dottie. If you want, if I could add, I can tell you
Sure.
that from my perspective as the chair of the select board in Easton, we've had no notice that anything has changed on that, and we don't expect any changes to that other than what you just described.
Right.
And staff, if Sean, if you could, or if someone can put into the chat, there is a link to get the updates. Everybody, we receive updates on the South Coast Rail pretty much like on a weekly basis. That would be able to assist with that. And we've had folks from South Coast Rail come to this meeting, so.
As luck would have it, teeing it up, Bill McNulty, our esteemed JTC logistics coordinator, has confirmed Gene Fox, who you just saw in that elegant video talking about South Coast Rail, will be at our next JTC meeting to give a presentation on this very topic. So I invite everybody to, hey, not only continue to participate in this meeting, but join us next month where we can have Gene Fox in person for a live Q&A session and presentation from Gene Fox, who has been a long time South Coast Rail project manager.
Yes.
How about that for OCPC staff?
We act quick. We texted and she said, "Yep." We did in real time.
Thank you.
So.
Be great
You
to
guys
see
need to
you.
be careful. I think NPR is going to steal Charlie away to be an on-air announcer.
Oh, boy.
I have a face for radio.
Thank you all. Any additional comments? Thank you for your questions. I'm going to move on to item number 6, which is under old business, which is the FFY 2022-2026 Transportation Improvement Implementation Program. And that would be Charlie.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So as we're rolling ahead and implementing the Transportation Improvement Program for this year, I note that the 2 projects programmed in 2022 have already been advertised for construction bids by MassDOT in the first quarter of the fiscal year. So that's great news. And you can see on your screen, the first project was Avon Stoughton pavement preservation and related work on Route 24. And that had a cost of about $7.4 million. And project number 2 is in Pembroke on the next slide. It's the rehabilitation of Route 36, and that includes the construction of sidewalks and drainage on this stretch of Route 36 from Route 27 to Route 14. And this was advertised back in late calendar year 2021. And the bids were opened in January, and the low bidder was came in pretty close to the estimate. And with good news with both of these projects being advertised early in the construction season is that you should be seeing construction activity on both of these facilities in this coming spring. So that's great news. Rolling through our program into 2023 and beyond, we have highlighted in your staff report on the screen is what we have for specific updates on other projects. And a note on an important project in our project list is in Stoughton, and that's the Route 138 corridor from essentially Lincoln Street in the southern end to the Canton Town line. So it's a fairly lengthy project, and it includes the signalization of Route 138 at York Street. And highlighted here is an important public participation opportunity is that there's a public design hearing on the 25% design plans on February 16th, and that will be a virtual event, and that'll be at 6 p.m. And I believe Sean Bailey covered this in his communication staff report. And that's basically what we have for specific project updates on as far as design. Perhaps Sean, if you could scroll through, and as we're scrolling through here, note here that the Stoughton project is funded over 2 years. That's why it appears in 2024 as well. But if folks on the call have some questions on projects that you see on the screen, we'll certainly entertain questions and work to answer those. And if we don't have the answers, we can work offline and then circle back. As Sean is panning through this screen, I'll note that we have a meeting with Mass DOT next week on an annual meeting to review every project on this list and determine project readiness as we're developing the next transportation improvement program. As you all know, that the TIP itself is a 5-year program, but it's updated every year with a new back end on there. So the new TIP will be a 2023 through 2027.
Thank you,
And the-
Charlie.
And that, thank you, Madam Chair. And I note that Sean also referenced earlier the bipartisan infrastructure law. About 60% of that is formula funds, and about the balance of that is discretionary grant programs. But we received some good news from MassDOT last week. Speaking of the TIP and the bipartisan infrastructure law, and the fact that we should be seeing about an 18% increase in formula dollars for the TIP on an annual basis. So, certainly good news on that front. So we should be able to fund more projects in any given year. So, we're thankful for the administration and Congress for moving this important infrastructure package forward.
That's
Madam-
great
Madam
news,
Chair,
Charlie. Great
If I
news.
could weigh in, that's also the great work that Charlie has done in terms of
Yes.
shepherding and keeping track and being efficient and effective. So thank you, Charlie.
Yep. And, none of this happens without the expertise of the Transportation Division and Charlie. Really, it doesn't. Great work by all on this. We thank you all because you make our region richer and more effective. Any additional comments or questions about the TIP implementation? All right, hearing none, I'm going to move forward to 7, which is new business, performance-based planning. And we'll talk about highway safety performance targets. And that would be Bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Welcome.
So for people who've been around for a while, you know that in 2016, Federal Highway Administration passed a ruling saying that statewide state DOTs and MPOs had to establish performance measurements to basically track how we're doing in terms of multiple areas. You saw that there was PM1, which is the safety performance, which I'm talking about today. Then PM2, which is focusing on keeping pavement and bridges in a state of good repair. And then PM3, which is improving system efficiency and freight movement. So today talking about the safety performance targets, because these are just updated and adopted by the Old Colony MPO at their last meeting a couple of weeks ago. So basically in PM1, this performance target set in 5 categories. One is fatalities, and that's broken into two subcategories. So the total number of fatalities and also the rate of fatalities per 100 million vehicle miles traveled. Then we look at serious injuries, and just like fatalities, look at the total number, and then the rate of serious injuries per 100 million VMT. And if you want to go into the next one, next page. And then finally, with non-motorists like pedestrians, bicyclists, ADT, disabled community, people with mobility assistance devices, they are all groups together, and we'd look at the combined fatalities and serious injuries with them. And the reason why we do that's combined and it's not a rate is because it's still really hard to get a rate for those roadway users. Just we don't have a solid number of users in that category, so it's hard to get a rate. But we obviously have the total number of fatalities and injuries, so that's what we use. Move forward into the presentation. Okay, next one. Yeah, again, it's just kind of recapping what I just talked about, those 3 categories. So today, talking about improving safety. And like I said, those 3 categories, actually 5, excuse me, next one. So you can see this is the trend for fatalities statewide over the past years. You can see that, overall, there's been a decreasing trend, which is great. because of the pandemic and the, data was a little unpredictable. Volumes, overall volume went way down during pandemic. It's starting to get back up to where it was, but for the last couple of years, it's been lower than it had been. But at the same time, fatalities and injuries kind of remain the same. So you can see the footnote at the bottom there. They just made assumptions rather than using the actual numbers going forward for these targets. You go to the next one. Again, this is serious injuries, and you can see a steeper decline with serious injuries versus fatalities. Fatalities kind of obviously it's decreasing, but it's decreasing at a slower rate than serious injuries. And you can see it's starting to level off. And again, it's kind of a little bit pandemic related. Next one. And same thing with non-motorized users. And you can see this one's a little bit different than the past one. So this one, the last two, you saw a continuing decline from when we began tracking through now. And you can see like this one kind of increased for a while and then start coming back down. That's probably due to just the fact that we back in that time frame, 2010, 2011, 2012, we started seeing a surge in people bicycling and walking, and that just coincided with more exposure and more crashes related to those roadway users. So there was a little bit of spike there. It wasn't necessarily because things are becoming unsafer. It was just a increased exposure, but now it's coming back down. Okay, so as for the actual targets, so these are the targets that MassDOT has developed. So you can see what was being used for the rolling average in 2021, and what has been established as the target for 2022. These are statewide, so these aren't for the just the MPO region. So, fatalities, setting the target at 340 for total statewide for 2022. They're keeping the fatality rate, the target at least the same that was used before, so 0.56 fatalities per 100 million VMT. Serious injuries, decreasing the target for that down to 2504. The rate, decreasing the rate to 4.11, and then decreasing the total combined non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries just a little bit from 475 down to 471. So the action that the Old Colony MPO took at the last meeting a couple of weeks ago. So in that ruling that in 2016 that Federal Highway passed, MPOs were given the option. They could either adopt the statewide targets and basically work with a state DOT towards achieving those targets, or if if MPO really wanted to be very proactive, they could establish their own targets and focus only on targets in their own region. Generally most MPOs, they adopt the statewide targets. It's a little bit easier that way, and it's kind of makes it keeps everyone on the same page. And so you may have noticed some of our programs, we're working with MassDOT to work towards these targets. Like in a moment, I'm going to talk about the road safety audit program. That the whole purpose of that program is to work towards these targets. And obviously it's just in our region, but by working to reduce injuries and fatalities in our region, then we're also obviously working with MassDOT and our partners to lower it statewide. So the MPO did indeed at the February meeting, the January meeting, establish adopts the statewide targets just as they have every year since that ruling was passed. And again, yeah, so this is just the numbers that MassDOT put together for the Old Colony region. You can see the trend of, so basically the trend is the overall number last couple of years has gone down, but the rate has gone up. That's just a factor of the pandemic, with volumes gone way down, but you know, we saw an increase in crashes the last couple of years, probably most likely due to speeding because it correlated directly with a noticeable increase in speeding. State police in 2020 issued a record number of tickets for people driving over 100 miles per hour. So there was a massive increase in speeding, which resulted in, unfortunately, more crashes, more serious crashes. So the rate has gone up a little bit, but still overall numbers are still kind of trending downwards. So some good news and bad news. And in terms of the rate, everyone believes it's just kind of a temporary thing. And once we start to get back to normal, things are going to start heading in the back in the downward direction again. And that's it. So, if anyone has any questions about that, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you so much, Bill. Do I hear any questions from any of the reps out there? Bill, I had one quick question.
Yep.
Some of your figures, would you say there are less cars on the road during COVID, but more fatalities happening because the speeds are higher?
Yeah, that appeared to be the trend. About earlier last year, I gave a presentation to this board. I dove into the numbers during COVID, and we try not just us as an MPO, but everybody really in the country was trying to figure out why safety was going in the opposite direction where we wanted to go. And so in speeding did seem to be the main issue. There was just a lot of correlation between police department data for issuing citations for speeding with this increase in crashes. And basically, so like the overall number of fatalities kind of remain the same, but obviously with fewer VMT, that made the rate go up.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Any additional questions at this time? Hearing none. Thank you so much, Bill. Great job.
My pleasure.
As usual. Under item 8, which is other business, I'm going to move on to community local technical assistance studies, and I think that would be you, Bill, again.
Yep. Actually, we do have an item before that on your screen. Item 7C, road safety audits.
Oh, I'm sorry, 7B. Sorry
Yep.
about that.
No
Road safety
problem.
Audits. Okay.
Yep. No problem. So just give you an update on where the road safety audit program is. This was carried over from federal fiscal year 2021. It was a very successful program. We did a total of 15 locations, and it was so successful, and it was very popular with our regions and with MassDOT that we continued it into this year. And so far it's off to a good start. We've already done one road safety audit that was in Easton, the intersection of Massapoag Avenue and Mill Street. And there was a successful road safety audit, and we've completed the final report for that, and that's been distributed to the town and to the state and all the stakeholders. We have some additional ones coming up. So, on your screen, they see Abington. We're going to be working with Abington to schedule 2 road safety audits, one at Groveland Street and Linwood Street, and one at this is actually a corridor, a short corridor on Central Street, basically between Washington and Adams, I believe. And Brockton, we have a couple that we're going to be doing. Warren Avenue at Market Street. You may recall this is one that had been requested a while ago. It was tabled because during pandemic, at least in the early stages of pandemic, the school that's on the corner there, students were all remote. And since the school is such a major player in traffic operations there, we really wanted the school to be at 100% operations before we did this audit. So we'll be doing that in the coming weeks. And also intersection at West Chestnut Street and Southwest Street. And then in Duxbury, and this one is actually scheduled. This one's scheduled 2 weeks from tomorrow. We 3 locations: Summer Street, which is Route 53 at Franklin Street and High Street; Congress Street, which is Route 14 at Franklin Street; and Tremont Street, Enterprise Street, which is Route 3A at Tremont Street and Church Street, which is Route 139. So those are the ones that we're actively working on right now and scheduling. So those will be done in February and March. And then looking beyond that, right now we're reaching out to the communities in MassDOT and identifying additional locations. And ultimately, I think we're probably on track to do about the same that we did last program year, about 15. So we're off to a good start. And if anyone has any questions about that, I'm happy to entertain them.
Nice work, Bill. I think you have your New Year set out for you with just road safety audits.
Yeah,
That's super.
Keeps us busy. Yeah,
it does. Thank you so much. Any questions? Okay, hearing none, I am going to go to item 8, other business. And A is community local technical assistance studies. And that is Bill.
Yeah. Just a couple updates. So we did a project for the city of Brockton. We looked at 2 intersections on Quincy Street, one at Quincy at Center Street, which is Route 123 at Quincy Street, and then just south of there, Crescent Street, Route 27 at Quincy Street and Massasoit Boulevard. So we did data collection, some crash analysis, level of service analysis, and that's been sent off to the city, and that is complete. We also did some technical assistance for the town of Easton. We provided them with data collection for 3 intersections. If you're familiar with it, kind of make like a little triangle: Washington Street at Turnpike Street, Washington Street at Purchase Street, and Turnpike Street at Purchase Street. And so that data collection has been completed and it's been sent off to the town. And next page. And so in Brockton right now, we're working to do a level service analysis and crash analysis at 3 intersections on Belmont Street at the VA, where the VA hospital is. So the VA entrance, Lorraine and Linwood, and Manley Street. Those were a tip project. That area was reconstructed. So basically, this is kind of looking like at a before and after that tip project. And apologize, you can hear my son crying in the background. Kingston, we're working with them to identify thickly settled roadways in the town. This is to help them with potential adoption of Chapter 90, Section 17C, which allows municipalities to establish a 25-mile-per-hour speed limit in thickly settled areas and business districts, either town-wide or by individual roadways. So we're working with the town on that. And then Kyle, he's working with the town of Plymouth to do a aerial survey of Billington Street using the drone program, and that'll be scheduled essentially whenever it's warm enough to do so. And that's the LTA program.
Thank you, Bill. Any questions of Bill?
I would just like to point out in the chat, Representative Dubois asked Bill if you could send her the findings of the Brockton project.
Yep.
And if you don't have her email address, it is she put her email address in the chat.
Okay. Yeah, we'll send that out.
Thank you, Sean. Gonna move forward to B, which is staff reviews on ENFs, EIRs, and MPCs. And that would be Kyle.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Welcome.
So first up, we have a environmental impact report for the town of West Bridgewater for the Lincoln Park project. And this is the final EIR. This is for the 350,000 square foot warehouse. The northernmost corner of the property is going to be used in conjunction with a portion of the existing Lincoln Street layout for a 13,000 square foot retail venue. And that's on roughly 1.5 acres. And they didn't supply the document on the MIPA website, probably because it's so large, but if you want copies, you can reach out to Jeffrey Bandini from McMahon Associates. Next is a certificate for the 850 Bedford Street in Bridgewater. And this certificate states that this project does not need an environmental impact report. Finally, we have 2 public notices. First is for the town of Hanover. It's a notice of combined Chapter 91 waterways license and permit and 401 water quality certification. And this involves the dredging of approximately 4.5 acres of contaminated river bottom sediment. And that's going to be approximately 3 feet in depth, and will be backfilled the dredge footprint with an equivalent amount of clean fill, involving the installation and maintenance of a sheet pile cofferdam. And the final public notice is for the town of Plymouth. It's a notice of application for a Chapter 91 waterways permit. And this will authorize improvement dredging off Zero Spring Lane. And that'll be in waters of Jenny Pond on Town Brook. And the proposed project has been determined to be water dependent. And that concludes my report from MIPA.
Thank you, Kyle. Any questions for Kyle?
I'll just mention that Lincoln Park project, a road safety audit was required. And so McMahon Associates hosted and prepared a road safety audit that Old Colony Planning Council participated in. That audit looked at Route 106, basically from West Street to up to and including the ramps.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Kyle. Any other comments or questions? We're gonna move on to regional concerns in local community transportation issues. I will open that up. At this time, I'd like to thank all the government officials and representatives that take time out of their schedule to attend our meeting, which is so important to us, and we're grateful. And at this time, Mayor Sullivan, would you like to add something to our meeting?
Yes, thank you, Noreen. I want to thank Mary and everybody at OCPC and every fellow elected official. I was just listening to Bill, and again, he was talking a lot about Brockton. So as the mayor of Brockton, as a lifelong Brocktonian, I want to thank you. The data and the safety analysis on Quincy Street is extremely important to the revitalization of that area. And I welcome Rep. Dubois' input on that. Crescent Street, Center Street, Massasoit Boulevard. And then, of course, Belmont Street, Route 123 is not just key to Brockton, but it's key to anybody going up to 24 and a lot of people that visit the VA hospital. So just want to thank everybody. We all have a difficult job. And again, COVID has changed everything, but kudos to everybody. And let's continue to work together for a better Commonwealth. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Sullivan. We appreciate you attending our meeting and all of the reps out there. And thank you to staff at Old Colony Planning Council and to Mary. We wouldn't be able to operate without all your expertise and all your hard work. So at this time, I will be looking for a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Okay, second that motion.
Second, Dan Selberg, Whitman.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you again, and be healthy and be safe, everyone. Thanks
See
for
you.
Everyone.
attending.
Enjoy the
Thank you.
warm
Thanks,
weather.
everyone.
Yes.
You.
Come on.